Singer, and I own Needle Wielders, a company whose motto is simply innovate. We try and process old sewing techniques in new ways to make them simpler and more accessible because a lot of times sewing is no longer taught in school. Our first mission is to eradicate UFOs that could be lurking in 9 to 11 million homes in the US and North America. These UFOs are not what we're trying to get rid of them using our special equipment that's patent pending. This isn't it. You might think I'm suggesting we go to more tin foil, but that is not what it is. UFO is unfinished object. When I checked yesterday on eBay, I looked for unfinished quilts and came up with 4,600 plus possibilities. I looked on Etsy on the same day and found 1,554 unfinished quilt tops. So I think there's a demonstrable need for a product to actually help people finish quilts. Why don't people finish quilts? They don't finish quilts primarily because the backing is very boring. Just imagine you're a quilter. You've taken all this time to take whole cloth, cut it into small pieces, and reassemble it in a beautiful way. Then the back is usually one gigantic piece of fabric. What fun is that? So it's not really fun. Not only that, it's really difficult to do on a standard home sewing machine because the pieces are so large. You have to stitch through 3 layers of fabric and it gets bunched up. Once it gets bunched up, you have to rip it out. And you may have worked for hours making these patchwork pieces.
I was just, you're
Great,
good.
thank you.
Yep.
The item we have to answer this or to fight UFOs is this product called an Easy Complete Quilt Template. Easy Complete Quilt Template come in rectangle, hexagon, and octagon sizes or shapes. And how they work is they work to make the back of a quilt. So the picture on the left-hand side is a line drawing of what Easy Complete Quilt will make. It will help you make these back pieces and join together. Now, this is a bed runner because, as I'll get into it, one of my assistants loves to make bed runners. The picture to the next picture over with the batik in it is when we made a bed runner using the Easy Complete quilt system and threw a batik fabric in there, and then it became a decorative bed runner. The next picture over is if you change the size of the squares, you get a completely different effect. And the final picture on the right-hand side is if you pad stitch, which is a requirement in most large quilting squares, with a decorative thread on an embroidery machine, you can flip over the quilt and have a completely different look on the reverse side. So the 2 pictures on the right are the same quilt bed runner. One's just quilted on the back with decorative thread. Also, one thing that's exciting about this product is the way it's constructed. You can now use the parts of the t-shirt you used to throw away when making t-shirt quilts. You can use the back of the t-shirt to make the back of the quilt. You can also use strange fabrics like satins. As a matter of fact, so let's talk about who I am. I'm the inventor, Jane Singer. And I actually worked as a designer prototyper for Shader's China Doll when they did the Cabbage Patch dolls that were made out of porcelain. I also have experience working for the Franklin Mint doing doll clothing. And finally, I actually do sew for people if they're nice to me. So these are things that I made for people using my sewing skills. My friend has joined me in this desire to fight UFOs. Her name's Gretchen Kopecki. And really what she did is she elevated everything. I'm an engineer. I'm like, how do you do that? She's the one who picked out the fabric and made it look like something special. She also gives me new ideas for selling products that are not the actual template, but related to the template. And she also helps me keep track of financial things and make sure I stay focused, which being who I am, that's a great aid. And then I also have a score mentor, William Holston, and he specializes in marketing. So he's a new member of my team, and I'm hoping that he'll be able to, greatly advance my cause. Okay, so now we're going to get into the statistics. This was a little tough for me. The data is from the 220 Quilting Trends Survey. That's the only one I could find with a nice graph. But essentially, the quilt market is $4.2 billion estimated currently in the US. And they're anticipating it's going to go to 5 billion by 2027, 2028. Now, the important thing is new quilters represent 8 to 10% of the quilting population, and they are the people who are going to be excited about my product because it's really easy and it doesn't require a buy-in to any special machinery. So that's why I think it's a great time to be introducing something like this. So this just shows that 1.2% have been quilting for less than a year. Now, I do have competitors, even though I think my system's the best. And so they're both called Quilt As You Go, which can kind of be confusing. And there are 17 million videos, or there's an enormous amount of videos on YouTube about backing a quilt and making quilts. And in spite of all that, people are not getting the information they need to finish the quilts that they're selling on eBay. So I think there is an unmet need. I think that even though these methods exist, they have distinct disadvantages, especially for beginners. Quilt As You Go #1 requires that you sew small strips on, and that's really difficult for people who are brand new to sewing. Okay, plus you still have to run all the fabric in its entirety underneath your sewing machine. Quilt As You Go #2 insists that you fold over the fabric twice and even go across intersections of fabric. That can cause needle breakage and a lot of fabric drag, so it makes your edges look really bad. So there's another method where you have to sew things together using zigzag stitches, and that can be a challenge to get them to look neat. So those things have disadvantages. Mine have none of those disadvantages. Mine are sewn together on a sewing machine and the stitches are all hidden. So they're really good for beginners. The edges are finished before you sew a quilt block made out of a quilt lined back. That's over on the left-hand side. The distinction between my lining and everyone else's lining on the market is the lining cannot pop out as you fold the piece over. Now, I don't know if you guys know how significant that is, but that's really cool. And I tried to swear off quilts after that, but I decided, no, I'm going to solve this problem. So how this is done is the quilt back is lined in such a way so that the lining cannot come out. It cannot show as you fold the quilt, and you'll see that on the next slide. As you fold the quilt, it won't come out and show and distract you from what's going on in the center of the quilt. Then after you've lined the quilt back, you insert the decorative part of the quilt, you pad stitch it in a single block on a household sewing machine, and then you join the quilt blocks together using guides that were built into the template. After you've joined all your quilt blocks together, you fold the edge of each quilt toward the face and stitch it in place. Then you're done. Then you get to enjoy it. There are a couple really nice features of this. Everything's finished as soon as you line the back, so you don't have any threads for your cat to gag on. You don't have pins all over the house, and you don't have to lay this product out on the table, dining room table, and refuse to let anyone touch it until you finally got around to stowing down all 3 layers. So it's really nice. And if you've ever quilt made, you know that quilts take up a lot of space a lot of times. And so eliminating that option is really attractive to me personally. Okay, so I went over my expenses. I'm laughing because I really overestimated some things. So this year we're going to have $25,806. You can see that. We're going to make $13,125 probably, and we'll have a loss. Next year, we're going to really move ahead marketing this product, and we think we can sell $37,500 worth of quilting templates or kits or patterns, because those are our products. We're hoping to have a slightly smaller or a smaller loss next year in 2024. And then 2025, we believe we will be able to be profitable. And then we think the sky's the limit, because my personal belief is this system is so easy that if I all Joann fabric stores across the nation, that's what I'm banking on. How we're going to become profitable, we're going to do quilt and craft shows where we sell the product, and we're going to sell auxiliary products as well. So there are certain things that you can use to make sewing a lot easier when you're doing this kind of construction. And we have found some that are our favorites that we're going to sell. We bought them at wholesale, and we'll carry them. We're going to go to quilt shops where we have fostered a lot of relationships, and we're going to try and do direct sales. And I have met quilt shops owners, store owners, when I've done the Philadelphia Quilt Exhibition, and they are interested in having us come do a class. So we'll be doing classes. We'll also be doing online classes. We also need to improve our website, and then we're going to try and explore marketing online. And that's it. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for putting up with all of the break in the internet. And if there are any questions, I'm here.
Does anybody have any questions?
I love you, Jane. And I grew up in a household where my mother sewed.